After my editor spent days dealing with an existential crisis deciding the channel's narrative structure, Nvidia announces they are now making laptop processors. And it looks like Microsoft is back in full force for AI. Wait, weren't they scaling back the presence of AI in Windows 11? No? Either way, Windows on ARM is not a new idea. Microsoft tried this back in 2012 with Windows RT. The product was discontinued and swept under the rug like an embarrassing photo you can't explain to anyone. In 2019, along came the Surface Pro X, beautiful, slim, incredibly expensive, and utterly useless for anything a Windows user actually wanted to do, because the native app library was smaller than the list of OpenAI projects that actually made it off the ground. I don't think even Sam Altman believes in Project Stargate. In 2024, Qualcomm tried again with the Snapdragon X Elite and Copilot Plus PCs. More capable, but still carrying a scar that scared off any gamer. Competitive game anti-cheat systems didn't work on Windows on ARM. Less work for Voices 38. Nvidia entered the picture with an argument Qualcomm simply didn't have. The credibility of the company that has manufactured the GPUs running these games and apps on conventional Windows for 2 decades, and the clout to convince all partner companies at the exact same time. The RTX Spark features a 20-core CPU with 10 high-performance cores and 10 efficiency cores. It has a GPU based on the Blackwell architecture with 6,144 CUDA cores and support for up to 128 GB of unified LPDDR5X memory, with bandwidth exceeding 300 GB per second. The total TDP is between 45 and 80 watts. The CPU and GPU communicate via an NVLink connection at 600 GB per second. On a traditional PC, the CPU and GPU communicate over PCI like two departments in the same company that only interact via email. On the RTX Spark, they share the same workbench. Information arrives before the request is even fully formulated. Microsoft built 2 entire products based on this. The Surface Laptop Ultra is a 15-inch laptop featuring a mini LED PixelSense Ultra display. The goal is to compete directly with Apple's MacBook Pro. How brave! The Surface Ultra needs to prove that Nvidia managed to do for Windows what Apple did for macOS. Good luck with that. The second product is the Surface RTX Spark Dev Box, developed specifically for programmers to build and test AI applications running locally on Windows. It is the declared alternative to the Mac Studio. A developer PC with 128 GB of unified memory available to both CPU and GPU is an intriguing proposition for anyone working with local AI models. But don't expect the same speed as a dedicated GPU. By using a 128 GB RTX Spark instead of a 12 GB RTX 5070, you are trading a Ferrari with barely any trunk space for a heavy-duty cargo truck. If the price hits a competitive spot compared to the Mac Studio, Apple will need to respond with more than just new chassis colors. But if the pricing follows historical Nvidia tradition, John Turnus will sleep soundly. Nvidia launched the RTX Spark at Computex 2026 without revealing an official price, while manufacturers in Taipei quietly admitted to figures between $2,000 and $2,900. And speaking of prices, look at what Quen dug up this week.
Say goodbye to stick drift before it ruins your gameplay. The Machenike G5 Pro V2 combines cutting-edge engineering and mechanical switches to deliver the ultimate tactile response. The Machenike G5 Pro V2 comes equipped with Hall effect joysticks and triggers, mechanical micro switches for the action buttons and D-pad, a 1000 Hz polling rate on PC and Switch to reduce wireless latency to almost zero, and programmable back buttons. Level up with the Machenike G5 Pro V2. Link in the description and pinned comment. Now, back to you, Alice.
Remember Voices 38? It might have a bit more work to do now that Windows on ARM has native anti-cheat support. Cheat prevention systems, Epic's Easy Anti-Cheat, BattlEye, Riot's Vanguard operate at the deepest level of the operating system, right in the kernel. And Lenovo is seriously considering doing the same after its DRM was humiliated via Hypervisor and Voices 38. Microsoft and Nvidia worked directly with each of these companies to create native ARM versions of these tools, making them run without emulation or system intervention. We're counting on you, Voices 38. Nvidia claims the RTX Spark delivers modern games at 1440p at over 100 frames per second. At an 80-watt power draw, that triggers our skepticism. But Nvidia has a compensatory argument that previous versions of Windows on ARM simply lacked. DLSS 4.5 with frame generation and ray reconstruction 4.5 natively integrated into the platform. Nvidia's AI upscaling technology transforms limitations into FPS numbers that are simultaneously real and assisted. Should we call it a magic trick or cheating? Combined with 128 GB of unified memory, the RTX Spark solves the VRAM bottleneck that plagues every conventional gaming laptop. Heavy textures, complex open worlds, local AI models, everything fits. The bandwidth doesn't beat GDDR7, but the available volume is larger than what any dedicated GPU laptop offers today. The platform still counts on Nvidia's entire ecosystem of technological crutches for gaming, packed inside a chip that consumes less power than some gaming monitors in power-saving mode. On top of that, Dell and Lenovo have joined the fray with their XPS and Legion 7 lines. The Legion 7 comes with a 245-watt power supply, a power range equivalent to laptops with a dedicated RTX 57 CPUR. Lenovo is clearly signaling its intention to squeeze the absolute maximum performance out of the RTX Spark, sparing no power. We're going to have a laptop that doubles as a space heater. And speaking of warming things up, how about warming up that like button and subscribing to the channel? I promise that once you do, I'll share an extra detail about the RTX Spark. Now that you've liked and subscribed, let's look at the promising future of this whole technology. Nvidia presented 3 generations with defined names, architectures, and timelines. The RTX Spark Blackwell will launch in late 2026. Manufactured by Asus, Dell, Gigabyte, HP, MSI, and Supermicro. Rubin will launch between 2027 and 2028. The Vera Rubin Spark chips, featuring Vera CPUs and Rubin GPUs, will bring support for LPDDR6 memory. Feynman will launch between 2029 and 2030. The Rosa Feynman Spark chips, featuring Rosa CPUs and Feynman GPUs, will feature HBM or LPDDR6X memory. Nvidia is confirming an argument I've been making since the channel's very first video. Software and hardware efficiency beats brute force. It's the same argument Apple used in 2020. Apple was right. Nvidia is building an entire ecosystem for Windows that didn't exist before, simultaneously attacking 2 problems: competitive graphics performance and software compatibility. If the Surface Laptop Ultra hits the market at a price that justifies comparing it to the MacBook Pro, with performance that delivers on what the benchmarks promise, and a software experience that doesn't embarrass the hardware, Apple will need to respond with something better. What about you? Will you wait for the Surface Ultra? Leave your thoughts in the comments and share the video. It's free, it doesn't have an anti-cheat, and it works on any architecture. If my editor automated everything and used AI to generate more than just my avatar and voice, we'd have a new series at the end of this video. But since he's human and prefers to write every single line of the script, maybe our project will have to wait until the next episode. In the meantime, I'll be visiting my new neighbor. It seems our digital bat problems are over.